Good evening, dear students. How are you? Good evening, dear students. Students of class 12th, how are you? Another class, and I believe we have to do some revisions also today. I'll try to revise, okay? And a few of you all are asking questions and all that. My objective will be to finish whatever remains in your syllabus as fast as I can. I'll try to finish this chapter. Let's do how much we can do today. And later, as soon as we finish this, I'll try to do your revisions, okay? So till 14th Feb, whatever classes will be there, I'll do your revision, okay? Whatever questions you want to know, whatever things you want to ask, you can ask me on the WhatsApp as well as on the class chat room, okay? So we begin today, and just a second. Okay, so we are here today, and I'll have to begin from where we left yesterday, sorry. So I was discussing about the human diseases that the people experience, okay? And we discussed about the definition of health. We discussed about the purpose of health, like physical health, okay? So we were discussing some diseases, some bacterial, viral, and fungal diseases we are going to discuss in this class here today also. And I can see very few centers are connected, okay? So only Shillong, I believe only Shillong is showing here. I think the others are having revisions or something else. All right. Students, please report your attendance. Okay. Shillong students have not come, I believe. There is no student I can see in the class, right? I cannot see any other students in the class. Okay, so please let me know as soon as the students have come. I cannot see any students in the class right now. The benches are all empty. The benches are all empty. Please let me know as students come. Okay. So if the students are not coming today, I believe I will have to record this, and for your future reference, this will serve as a point, okay? So I'll start right away. Human health and disease we were discussing about. Human health and disease, okay? Hello, Dani Choir School Zyro. How are you? It's really good to see. Some students have come. I was beginning to think that maybe the students haven't come today. Zyro, your pre-boards are over, right? Zyro school students, your pre-boards are over, right? I believe they are over. Okay. So, all right. So, how many students are present today at your center? Only one student is present in Shillong. Okay. Zyro, how many students are present in your center? Okay. How many school students are present in your center? Okay. Hello, Nahar Lagun students. Happy to see you. Good evening. Okay, so 6 students at Zyro. Very good. And at Nahar Lagun, 2 students are present. Okay, That will do. Naharlagun students, I received your message of school coordinator that revision has to be done, but I'll try to end this syllabus first, okay? So my syllabus is not much remaining, and then we can happily start with the revisions, okay? So please do not hesitate to ask me, okay? Students, I believe you all are so hesitant to ask me. Only some people are asking questions, okay? I do not know your exact names, but I believe you can, you know who I am, and you can address me directly without any hesitation, okay? So please do not hesitate to ask questions. If you have a doubt regarding to this topic or any topic which has been covered previously, please do not hesitate to ask questions. This WhatsApp group has been formed for your benefit, okay? So I am more than happy to answer questions. I am very happy to answer questions. I love curiosities, okay? Do not think that I will be in some busy schedule or something. Whenever I get time, I'll definitely answer, and that means that you can ask me anytime, okay? Please do not hesitate to ask questions. Asking questions is good for your, okay, syllabus and everything. So let me start from where I left. I was telling you I had explained some principles, and these principles will be very useful in understanding this topic today. We had discussed the principles of vaccination. It is also called immunization, okay, students? And after all this, we discussed some diseases, okay? I was telling to you about some diseases like pneumonia, okay, tetanus, typhoid. Typhoid we had discussed yesterday, okay, and I told you that typhoid is a very widespread disease. It spreads by a very dangerous bacteria called salmonella, and salmonella is also responsible for food poisoning as well. And the typhoid bacteria, okay, what is the mode of infection? It spreads through contaminated fecal material, and wherever the fecal material goes, whether in the soil or somebody's hands due to improper hygienic conditions or due to other reasons, okay. So this bacteria can quickly multiply in the water supply, in the food, etc. So it's very dangerous to think about that. What will happen if it gets into the food supply or water supply? A lot of people will suffer from this disease, okay. So hygiene comes foremost in spreading the polio and typhoid diseases, okay. So now we are left with some other diseases, okay. We have to cover this quickly. So I'll start with few diseases. Like you all are well aware of malaria. We have to cover malaria. Malaria is very important, and other diseases, okay. So let me start with this, okay. So now the third disease I have to cover. I left it there because I wanted to do it today, because if I had left it in between, you wouldn't have understood so much, and it's necessary for you to understand one thing at a time, okay. So all right, okay. So the Shillong centers, the Zairo centers, and the which is the third center? Yeah, Naharlagun and Zairo and Shillong students. Now we come on to tuberculosis, okay. So tuberculosis is a very widespread disease still in this century, okay. Tuberculosis is a very deadly disease. It used to be a deadly disease, and now with the spread of antibiotics to combat this disease, and due to some improper medications, this disease has come back with even a greater force. I will explain this a bit later. So tuberculosis, it is caused by, let us name the pathogen. It is caused by Mycobacterium tuberculi, okay. Yeah, Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Okay. So the mode of infection of this mode of infection is a very interesting phenomena of tuberculosis. It is called droplet infection. Droplet infection. Okay. So what do we mean by droplet infection? Can anybody explain this? What do we mean by droplet infection? Students, what is the meaning of droplet infection? Okay. So here we have a cool dude, okay? Maybe I can, okay. Okay, I'll just explain, all right? Just wait a second. I need to do something here. Sorry. All right. So here we have this. Okay. So you get an idea that this is a man, okay, and suppose he is coughing or sneezing, okay. This man has a TB infection, okay. Suppose this man has a TB infection and he is coughing or sneezing or something, okay. So on these drops emitted by coughing, sneezing, etc., droplets from nasal passage or coughing or sneezing, etc. Okay. All right. So try to understand this, that a person who has some tuberculosis bacteria, okay, inside his respiratory passage, this person starts to sneeze or cough, and these droplets, they will come out from the mouth or from the nose, okay, and they will spread in all directions. Okay. So what will happen is these droplets can spread to anybody. Okay, this is called droplet infection. Mode of infection is droplet infection. Please understand that tuberculosis is a highly contagious disease. This is a highly contagious disease. This is a very highly contagious disease. Contagious means a disease is highly infectious disease. Okay. So, how does a tuberculosis bacteria try to spread from one person to another? Okay. Suppose one of your enemies has tuberculosis, okay. So if he suffers from this disease, okay, and he's trying to sneeze or cough, these droplets that are coming out from his mouth, they will contain high numbers of tuberculosis bacterium. This is a highly contagious, highly infectious disease. So by sneezing, coughing, or even a slight spitting, these bacteria come out in the air. Okay. The property of tuberculosis bacteria is that it can travel for long distances if sunlight is absent. I'll explain. Tuberculosis bacteria is highly susceptible to sunlight. Tuberculosis bacteria are easily killed by sunlight. They can travel to long distances, but if that place contains sunlight, sunlight is easily able to kill tuberculosis bacteria. So these bacteria will quickly die if they come out in the air, but during that short time period, they can travel to long distances along with the wind velocity, depends on wind, okay. So these bacteria are actually present everywhere around us. Tuberculosis bacteria are really present everywhere around us. Now, can anybody guess why, if tuberculosis bacteria are present all around us, why do we not get tuberculosis? Why do we not suffer from TB? It is also called TB, okay. Why do we not suffer from TB? Can anybody explain? Please try to be short, concise. Why do we not suffer from TB? Does anybody know the answer? Can you guess? Yes or no? Can you guess or not? Why do we not suffer from TB if the air contains high amount of tuberculosis bacteria? Okay, this might go a bit bad. All right. It's a bit difficult to draw it here. All right, I'll just drop it. Actually, I wanted to show that person with a wide open mouth, but I don't know, this is not working very well. Okay, so let's draw him normally. Okay, immunity difference, very good, Zyro students. Everybody has a different immune response. So please try to understand this. Because of the difference in the immune system level of different people, some people are strong, some people have a weak immune system, the disease called TB can spread easily to the weak individuals, the susceptible individuals. And can you also identify who these individuals are who are susceptible to the tuberculosis, who easily suffer from tuberculosis? Can you students please understand this? Can you guess? Who are the people who can easily get infected from tuberculosis? Who are the immunity susceptible, compromised immune system individuals? It can be either AIDS patients, okay? It can be people who have an enzyme which is necessary for the functioning of immune system, okay? Defective immune system, compromised immunity individuals like AIDS patients, and most commonly, the people who work for long hours in a day, okay? The laborers who smoke, the laborers who work for long hours every day and do not get proper food. Yes. Food is the primary source of energy for every working system or for body, even our immune system. So if we do not get proper proteins, if we do not get proper amount of carbohydrates, fats, lipids, vitamins, etc., the immune system is going to turn weak. Okay? So people who are undergoing dieting, vigorous dieting, okay? Girls, please take care of that, okay? A dieting individual should always take a proper food supplement, okay? You can always take some tablets for the vitamins, okay? So many people, I totally understand that want to undergo dieting, and even I have tried that, okay? Not exactly right now, but I have tried that, and I have been through that. So whenever one goes through a dieting process, okay, because to joins the gym or anything, they undergo severe changes in their diet. They try to work, but the most immune compromised individuals are the people who suffer from depression, stress, and At the same time, they do not eat food properly. Okay. So if you look at the society, the laborers in the society, they are the most immune system compromised individuals. So the laborers, the rickshaw pullers, okay, and the people who live in closed spaces, confined spaces, small homes, houses, and no proper ventilation, etc., they are the most compromised individuals. So normally poor rickshaw pullers and laborers are the most TB susceptible individuals. Okay, yeah. So this is that. So this is why laborers suffer as because of the tuberculosis. Tuberculosis bacteria are everywhere, but not everybody gets infected. We all have a strong immune system, so we do not get infected. But once tuberculosis has occurred, it can also be cured. It can be prevented by the measures I told you already. How can it be prevented? By taking a proper diet, okay, and following a healthy routine, and proper hygiene, ventilation in our homes, everywhere that we live or visit. It is going to be helpful, because tuberculosis bacteria die quickly in the presence of sunlight or hot air. So this is about tuberculosis bacteria. All right. So the government of India has started several campaigns to treat tuberculosis patients. And this has given rise to another problem that I will discuss later. So first let me write about this thing. The symptoms of tuberculosis. The symptoms of tuberculosis. So the symptoms of tuberculosis are, please write, chronic cough. Chronic means for long period of time. Somebody who has been coughing from a long time, has cough buildup in our sinuses, okay? Chronic cough. You all know what sinusitis, right? You know what sinuses. Students, you know what sinuses, right? If somebody has had a recent cough, cold, or they have been suffering from cough from a long time, there is a different disease called sinusitis. If you can press your cheekbones, right? Yeah. If you can press your cheekbones and apply some pressure, and if it starts to hurt a bit, you start to feel a bit of pain, it means you have some buildup of sinus fluid, a cough fluid here, okay? These are the sinuses. Here and here some sinuses are present, okay, students? So if you press this and some cough is building up, you will feel a bit of pain. If no pain is present, it means you're perfectly healthy. But if you are suffering from cold and on applying pressure, you feel a bit of pain, after you release your fingers from this part, you will suddenly feel that there is a certain relaxation thing, because your nose will suddenly feel like unclogged. It will suddenly feel like you are breathing more easily. So this is because of cough buildup. You can do this to relieve yourself at times. Okay. Chronic cough, somebody who has been coughing from a long time, and cough, we know that it is a buildup of bacteria mixed with mucus. What is cough? It is bacteria mixed with mucus. The cough that we spit out of our body is, if it is solid, then it means bacteria plus mucus. If it is fluid, it normally means that less number of bacteria are present along with mucus. But if a large number of bacteria are present, it will change its color. It will become yellowish or white colored. Okay. Chronic cough, fever, weakness, and a very important feature, bloody sputum. Okay. Cough along with blood. Okay. This is a distinctive feature of tuberculosis. What is the difference between normal kind of cough and a TB patient? the TB patient, when he spits the cough out of his mouth, it will contain some amount of blood. Okay, so bloody sputum, breathlessness. Okay, these people will easily tire up. Breathlessness. Okay, yeah, this must be enough. I will write only the most distinctive features. Breathlessness. These people are always short of breath, shallow breathing. They cannot work for long hours, okay, because they have chronic buildup of cough inside their lungs. They have chronic buildup of mucus made by the tuberculosis bacteria, which resides in the tubercles of lungs. It forms structures called tubercles, and these, because of the presence of tubercles, this disease is called tuberculosis. Okay, all right. So you must have studied respiratory system, and in respiratory system we understand that what is coughing and what is sneezing. Coughing is a response to expel the foreign particles out from the respiratory system. Suppose you are eating some food and you're simultaneously talking. It must have happened many times that if you're not concentrating on your food, then some particles along with fluid material must have gotten inside your lungs and you suddenly start to cough violently. Okay, you want to cough, because the diaphragm pushes the air violently. The diaphragm, it is present in the sternum part. Okay, it is present in the below the sternum, and the diaphragm, it is flat, then it curves upwards. It suddenly curves upwards so that air can be forcefully expelled out. Okay, and if this is not enough, if the body feels that the foreign particle has penetrated deep into the bronchus, in that case, the body will prepare for a larger scale reaction. What is it called? Sneezing. Okay, body will prepare for a larger scale reaction, the sneezing reaction. What happens in sneezing? The body, there is a phrase called the calm before the storm. So if anybody is going to sneeze and you look at them, they suddenly become very quiet, and they are gathering a large volume of air inside their chest and abdomen maybe. Okay, so they are gathering a large volume of air, and suddenly the diaphragm, which is flat, suddenly it moves upwards and forcefully expels the large amount of air through the whatever apertures are open, from the nose, from the mouth, whatever apertures are possible. They expel this air forcefully, violently. It is called sneezing. And in sneezing, we know the droplets are ejected at a far greater velocity than the coughing. Okay, so why do coughing and sneezing take place? To expel the foreign particles from reaching the lungs. But in tuberculosis, the bacteria has penetrated the respiratory system. It has reached up to the lungs. This is why it is very difficult to treat this disease, but we can still treat it. So I told you that whenever a disease is caused by bacteria, we are going to prescribe which thing? Antibiotics. Okay, so please write now the treatment. The treatment. Okay, now question has been asked, what is the government doing about it, or the TB disease, about the scourge of TB disease? So the government has started a program which appears in quite a few, like in the, whenever you go for a movie, want to watch a movie, then government runs some programs for the disease awareness. One of these is called Pakke Ilaj Ka Pakka Vaida in Hindi. It is running mostly. It's run in many languages, all the languages of Indian subcontinent. It's called direct observation treatment strategy. Direct observation treatment strategy or short course. Treatment short course. Okay, treatment, right, treatment short course, okay. All right. To confirm that a person has been suffering from TB, we prescribe a Mantox test, and to treat this disease, we give antibiotics. Okay. Now, please concentrate. Antibiotics are used to treat bacterial infections. They have been in use for a long time. But when you have studied evolution, you also have understood that whenever we subject any population of organisms, whether that be microorganisms, whether that be animals, and if they are subjected to unfavorable conditions, there are going to be individuals out of that population that will always survive. There are individuals that are always going to survive. So what will happen in such an event? There are always going to be some bacteria which are going to be resistant to the TB antibiotics. Okay? There are always some bacteria which are going to survive. And if the antibiotics are not taken properly, they are avoided, then these bacteria can spread from this patient to everybody. Now, what will happen? These bacteria are stronger bacteria. They are immune to the immune system. Okay? They are immune to the immune system, immune to antibiotics, and these bacteria are called superbug bacteria. These bacteria are very hard to kill. They are antibiotic resistant. Okay? So they are very hard to kill, and because of this, treatment and eradication of TB from planet Earth has been very difficult, because there are people who think that if I am feeling okay, if my symptoms have gone away, my bacteria must have also been killed. I am perfectly fine. But it might not be so. The bacterial population might have been reduced to a few individuals, and these individuals are hard to kill. But by continuous treatment for about 6 months, that is why this treatment is written as short course, 6 months, we can treat TB in about 6 months. By continuous regular dosage of antibiotics, we can do this, okay? But if this person who is affected by TB does not take medicines properly on proper time, he is going to serve as a carrier of superbug TB bacteria, which can be a problem for everybody on this planet. No matter how strong the immune system these have, these individuals might be more susceptible to this disease now. So, okay. So, somewhere this question has been asked in AIMS, that superbug bacteria assertion reason type questions have been asked. Maybe I'll cover that later. I cannot describe in full detail, but you got an idea, okay, students? What are superbug bacteria? They are created by improper habits, like not taking the medicines properly, and because of this, the antibiotic resistant bacteria, which could be killed in an individual if he took the medicines properly, they are now coming back and are affecting other people as well. So now the doctors have formed a strategy. If a person is not taking antibiotics properly, he is not treated within 6 months, and after 6 months he again comes to the doctors. The doctors refuse to treat this patient. They know that this person is carrying the tuberculosis resistant bacteria. So he is forcefully admitted. The government ensures that this person is forcefully admitted to the hospital, and he is made to receive the antibiotics, because if he does this again, in the third step, even very high, even more resistant bacteria than superbacteria can be created, which are resistant to every kind of antibiotic that we know. About 200 antibiotics are in use. If a bacteria is resistant to 200 type of antibiotics, the only solution is to burn him alive. Okay, so this is a very difficult thing for everybody. So whenever the person is suffering from a disease, it's always better to take the full course of antibiotics. If a doctor has prescribed us anything, we must take the full course. We must not create superbug bacteria. It goes for every disease, okay? All right. So antibiotics, and there is a vaccine for TB also. Vaccine for TB. Okay. The foreigners who visit some parts in Africa and are very susceptible. There are some people who are very susceptible to TB, who are having a weak immune system, who have never faced a tuberculosis bacteria in their life, maybe. From usually they are from developed countries. If they come to India or any hot tropical country where the tuberculosis bacteria are commonly present, they always take a vaccine called a BCG vaccine. The full form is Bacillus calmette-guerin. You need not write it. If anybody is interested, they can write the full name. I can write it. Bacillus calmette, Bacillus calmette-guerin. Okay. This is the name of a vaccine. It has been asked. Otherwise, I wouldn't write this. It has been asked in the pre-medical examinations. Okay, NEET. And these are a test. For malaria, we test for a ring stage. In TB, we search for a Mantoux test, which confirms the presence of TB bacteria. A person is suffering from TB. Mantoux test. Okay. All these questions, these terms have been asked, so please do not take them lightly. Okay. All these terms that I am writing down, they are important. They can be asked in the examination. Okay. But if for your boards, you can simply write the symptoms. You can simply write that the symptoms of this disease are this. This disease is like spread by droplet infection. It is very important. Mode of infection of TB is asked in the board examination. Droplet infection, coughing, sneezing, etc. All right. So now one more thing. Please tell me, why do we pasteurize the milk? Okay. It is related to TB bacteria. That's why I'm asking you. You all know about pasteurization of milk. Milk, butter, buttermilk, okay, mattha, doodh, dahi. Whatever milk products are available in the market, it is written there, pasteurized. Pasteurized butter, Amul butter, pasteurized milk. So what is pasteurization? Pasteurization was, it's a process. It was invented by Louis Pasteur. And what did Pasteur do? He was a French chemist, biologist, okay, and French scientist basically. And he formulated a strategy by which all the pathogenic bacteria in milk can be killed. Are you getting me? All the pathogenic bacteria in milk must be killed. What about the non-pathogenic bacteria? Can you answer this? What about the non-pathogenic bacteria? Should they be killed too? Yes or no? The non-pathogenic bacteria in the milk, should they be killed? Yes or no? I have just taught you students about microbes in human welfare. So you must answer this question. You have attended my classes. So please tell me, is it necessary to kill the even the non-pathogenic bacteria in the milk? Yes or no? Come on, I'm waiting for your answers. Is it necessary to kill the non-pathogenic bacteria in the milk along with the pathogenic bacteria? No answers? Okay. Students, I have told you that in milk there is a bacterium called lactobacillus. Okay. Streptococcus lactis and lactobacillus lactis, they are present in the milk. Yeah, good Shillong students, very good. It's not necessary to kill the non-pathogenic bacteria. These non-pathogenic bacteria actually prevent the infection caused by the pathogenic bacteria. They are harmful to the tuberculosis bacteria. So if we are making curd, we can be sure that there are no tuberculosis bacteria present inside curd. Now you must also remember that at our homes, whenever mother tries to prepare curd, she always says that we must preserve some curd from outside. She says this, yes or no? And she also boils the milk first, and after boiling the milk, when it cools down, then we add some curd from the previous batch of curd, then we add it. Why do we do this? We do this so that by the boiling of milk, which is a type of pasteurization, we destroy all the tuberculosis bacteria. I told you, so tuberculosis bacteria is susceptible to temperature, sunlight. Okay, so they die in the presence of high temperature. Okay, so we boil the milk, and by boiling, these bacteria are destroyed. So then we can add lactobacillus to it, and it will cause the preservation of articles. So many things. Okay, but please remember, if somebody asks you, why do we pasteurize the milk? What is the biggest threat to us from milk? It is tuberculosis bacterium. This is the reason. This is the reason why I am discussing this right now. So at the top of the page somewhere, you must write, why do we fear from milk so much? We fear, why do we need to boil it every time? It is so fresh, it is pure. As soon as the milk comes outside, tuberculosis bacteria, they love milk. They grow rapidly in milk products. So we need to boil it. We need to destroy tuberculosis bacterium. Okay. So I told you that on the margin somewhere, you can write this thing, this information. Milk is boiled. Milk is boiled, pasteurized, to prevent growth of or destroy TB bacteria. This is very important. Please remember this. To prevent the growth of TB bacteria, we have to boil milk every time. Okay? All right. So we can continue now. This is about tuberculosis. Okay? It can be treated by antibiotics. All right. So now let's start. What is the bacterium now? After tuberculosis, number 4. Okay. So number 4 will be a bacteria called diphtheria. Diphtheria. Have any of your students heard about diphtheria? Have any of your students heard about diphtheria anywhere? It is caused by Corine bacterium diphtheriae. Corine bacterium diphtheriae. Okay. Corine bacterium diphtheriae is the bacterium responsible for causing diphtheria. So, any guesses? Any guesses, students? No? All right. Corine bacterium diphtheriae, in Hindi, we call this disease gal ghotu. Okay. Anybody of you have heard about Premchand? Premchand was a Hindi novel writer. My mother still reads about his novels. He was born in the pre-independence era of India, and he wrote many beautiful novels and literature, and his work has been copied into many various languages, including the languages of the Northeast, the seven sister languages, Naga, Assamese, so many languages. Actually, why I'm mentioning his name, because in his novels he has quite often mentioned of a disease. He writes very tragic stories about the problems of the common man. He wrote about them, or how the Britishers used to oppress Indians. Okay, so in many of his stories, he has mentioned of a disease in which small children used to die by suffocation in their necks. Due to suffocation, they used to die right in front of their parents. Okay, this disease is called diphtheria. In Hindi, we call it, which the translation of gal ghotu is something which suffocates or presses the neck. Okay, something which suffocates the neck. Okay, yes, this disease caused by the bacteria. This bacteria prefers to grow in the neck region, in the respiratory passage of small children. This bacteria likes to grow in the respiratory passages of small children because they have a weak immune system. Okay, they have a weak immune system. So this bacteria wants to grow in that area. What will it do? This bacteria will form a large colony. This colony will form a blockage in the respiratory passage. So if no air passage is available, these small children will die. This was such a harmful disease. This was such a fatal disease in the pre-independence era that so many Indians and so many Indian children have died due to this disease, and no cure was actually known. Only some Ayurvedic medicines were there, and they were in such short supply that anybody who used to suffer from this disease, they had to be given some medicines, and Tulsi Adrak. Tulsi is very helpful in this disease. It is quite helpful in preventing the growth of this bacterium. But very large population of Indian children and as well as European children. In Europe, it was an epidemic. Okay, they used to die from this disease. Only after discovery of antibiotics like penicillin, streptomycin, vancomycin, and tetracycline drugs, tetracycline antibiotics, this disease was almost wiped out. Okay, so actually this bacteria can grow on some animals also, and some other things as well. So it is very hard to actually wipe out this disease from planet Earth, but we can do a preventive measure, and this measure is called DPT vaccine. Have you heard about DPT vaccine, children? Have you heard about DPT vaccine? This vaccine has been administered to all of you. All of you have had been administered the DPT vaccine. Okay, you do not remember. Because when you were a child, about 6 months of age, your mother took to a hospital, a government hospital, and you were administered this vaccine at 6 months of age. Okay? You do not remember. I do not remember. Okay? I do not remember my time, and you do not remember yours. So we all are on the same page here. Okay. The vaccine is called DPT vaccine. It is for 3 types of bacteria. D is for diphtheria, P is for pertussis, whooping cough. I'll come to it next. And third is T. T is for tetanus. So this vaccine is a triple vaccine. It is also called triple booster vaccine. You might have heard this term, booster vaccine or triple booster vaccine. It's actually DPT vaccine. If you see, if any child has been born in your family, in your distant relations, you can see the child health card, the mother and child health card. On the mother's side, some nutritious substances will be prescribed. On the children's side, some vaccines will be prescribed at a proper age, like 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. And DPT vaccine is administered, like tetanus vaccine is given to children up till 13 years of age. Okay, so you know about it. Okay, and just you don't not remember it quite well. You must ask your mothers. Okay, you must ask your mom that when was DPT vaccine given to me. She will tell you. Okay, all right. So caused by Corynebacterium diphtheriae. What are the symptoms of this disease? Symptoms of this disease are high grade fever. The children have very high grade fever. They cough, they sneeze, they cough, they keep on coughing. There is no end to it, and there is difficulty in respiration. High grade fever, difficulty in respiration. Because these are small children, so they cannot explain how bad this disease is. This is the main problem. They cannot explain to the doctor how they are feeling. Difficulty in respiration. We can only see from their efforts that yes, they are really having some problem in breathing. Okay. Now to confirm this test, a test is done which is called Schick test. Schick test or Chick test. Investigation, confirmation by Schick test. Okay, Schick test or Chick test, whatever you want to say it like. And prevention, DPT vaccine. D is for diphtheria. T is for tetanus. And P is for pertussis. Okay. All right. So DPT vaccine. How is this disease going to be treated? How we are going to treat this disease? Treatment. The treatment is by antibiotics. Okay. Penicillin was very effective. Penicillin is highly effective. About 100 units or 1000 units of penicillin, more than sufficient to kill this bacteria. Do not write the dosage. Antibiotics. Any antibiotics, example penicillin. Just this much is sufficient. Okay. All right. All right. So we have written this, I suppose. Next, we must move on You have written this, students, right? Anything remaining? Let me know if I need to scroll up or down. Okay. 3, 4, 5. Now it is pertussis or whooping cough. Whooping cough or pertussis. Okay. It is also called 100 days cough. Very interesting name, right? 100 days cough. Okay. All right. So this disease is caused due to a bacteria called Bordetella pertussis. Okay. So please write this down. Caused by Bordetella pertussis. Okay. This disease is called whooping cough. It is called is due to Bordetella pertussis. And what happens in this disease? Symptoms. A person keeps on, a child keeps on coughing regularly, produces large amount of cough at regular intervals. So we can write persistent cough never ends. Large bouts of cough. And during coughing, the characteristic sound like a dry coughing sound is produced. Okay. Prevention, easy. DPT vaccine can be given. This vaccine protects children from all these 3 deadly diseases. Treatment, antibiotics. Okay. All right. So let's move further. Now a very, very important, a very, very highly important disease is now to be done here. Tetanus is very important for board examinations especially, and for the NEET examination also. Tetanus bacteria has been asked in very different ways in your board examinations. In your value-based questions, it has been asked. In your main long answer questions and short answer questions, it has been asked. But the most common way of asking this question is normally in the value-based questions. You must be prepared to face at least one question related to tetanus anywhere in your board examination or your NEET examination. I'll explain how the question is asked. First, let us write down some basic things. Tetanus, it is also called lockjaw. Okay. It is also called lockjaw. I'll explain why it is called lockjaw later. Let us write some basic things about this disease first. Caused by Clostridium tetani. Clostridium tetani. Okay. Symptoms. Symptoms. You can say sustained contraction of the body. Sustained contraction of the body. Any one of you who has recently received a tetanus vaccine, a Tetvac vaccine, on your left arm or right arm, whenever you go to the doctor asks whether you are right-handed or left-handed. Okay, you have suffered from a small injury, a small maybe a scratch only, a bruise only on the street. Okay, or you have received a cut somewhere while playing in the field, even in the football field, anywhere, and you need to get quickly a tetanus vaccine. Right, students? So, if you are right-handed, the doctor will give you the injection in your left arm. If you are left-handed, he will use this injection in your right arm. So, after we have this vaccine, our hand, it feels in a state of sustained contraction, right? It feels that like it's always hurting somewhere, it's always contracted, a very fatigued state, right? I'll explain why it is so. Let's write this quickly. Sustained contraction of the body. Okay. Muscles and spasms. Lockjaw. Lockjaw happens in people who are suffering from tetanus normally. In rare cases, from the vaccine also. Unconsciousness. Unconsciousness. Okay. And yeah, there is a term called opisthotonus rhizus sardonicus. Don't look at me like this. Opisthotonus. It has been asked somewhere. Opisthotonus rhizus sardonicus. Rhizus sardonicus. Okay. This term means stretching of facial muscles. Stretching of facial muscles. Okay. So let me now explain what I am talking about all this time. Tetanus is a highly deadly disease. It has a very high mortality rate if not treated. I have seen one small boy who had suffered from tetanus and he died on going through the ambulance on the way. He died on the way. So tetanus actually occurs in a variety of ways why we say that tetanus is so deadly. Okay. So the tetanus bacteria, actually it is present. The question, let me ask you some questions, okay. This question has been asked in CBSE, both value-based and long answer. Normally value-based questions are the most common ones. X is the name of a girl. I think the name of the girl started with S. I don't remember the name, the exact question. X was a girl who was playing on the street and she got injured. She suffered from minor cuts and bruises on her arm and legs, and on seeing this wound, on seeing these minor cuts, injuries, minor cuts, not major injuries, minor cuts, the doctor immediately prescribed a vaccine called Y. Your questions were asked were like, please name the vaccine, please name what disease she is suffering from or might suffer from, and why do we need to give this vaccine in all the cases of similar road injuries. Okay, do you understand this question, students? Someone was playing on the street, okay, and someone got a minor cut or an injury and the blood started coming out. The wound was cleaned and antibiotic, Dettol, etc. were applied, and still the doctor has prescribed immediately that this girl or boy must be given some vaccine, some sort of a medicine must be prescribed, some sort of a vaccine must be prescribed immediately. The vaccine has to be given. This vaccine is tetanus vaccine caused by, I have written, Clostridium tetani. Now please try to understand why the doctor has done so. Okay. So we all know that there is a transportation medium that is still widely used, okay, and this transportation medium is called, I won't be able to draw it, okay, this transportation medium is called horse, okay, and horses have been used from a very long time. Horses have been used from a very long time, and horses carry tetanus bacterium. Sorry. Horses carry tetanus bacterium in their digestive system last part. They emit large volumes of tetanus bacterium when they pass their fecal material. Horse dung contains, just write it in short, horse dung contains tetanus bacteria. Horses have a strong immune system. Horses have tetanus bacteria in their horse dung. So whenever a horse goes somewhere, okay, and horses spread like dogs leave their sign of they mark their territory in a specific manner, okay. We know dogs that they try to mark their territory in a very specific manner by passing their urine on every lamp post, every tree. Even if you have parked your car somewhere, our dog will immediately go there and mark its territory on the tires of that car, okay. So similarly, not quite similarly, horses pass their fecal material, their dung, everywhere they go, okay. So on the roads, tetanus bacteria is present in a uniform layer on the road, okay. You understand my point, what I'm trying to say here. The tetanus bacteria is present everywhere on the road. Horses are still used, okay. Horses do not get infected or die from tetanus bacteria, but they serve as carrier of tetanus bacteria. They serve as means of spreading tetanus bacteria everywhere. Horses are still used. So everywhere the horses go, the tetanus bacteria will also go. Alright. So anybody who has had a minor cut, minor bruise on the road or near the road, they are immediately prescribed to have a tetanus vaccine. You are playing in the football field. Maybe the horses have visited it 10 years ago, 5 years ago, on some occasion, okay, and your football field is located somewhere, wherever that might be. Horses might have just gone for eating the grass or anything, or mules have gone there. The tetanus bacteria can survive in the soil for 5 years, 10 years. It can survive for many years. It will wait for the perfect opportunity for someone to get injured, to enter into their wounds, and then multiply quickly. Then multiply quickly. You understand my point? So horse dung contains tetanus bacteria. Sorry. Horse dung contains tetanus bacteria. So horses are still used as a transportation medium. So anybody who gets a minor injury, a minor cut on the road, or involved in any road accident, they will always be prescribed tetanus vaccine. Why? Because after accidents, many people have taken care of their health, but they forgot to take tetanus injections, and many people all around the world have died due to tetanus infection. What happens in tetanus infection? This bacteria grows rapidly. It does not show its symptoms for 24 or 48 hours. That means 1 day to 2 days, no symptoms will be shown. For about 2 days, till 48 hours, no symptoms will be shown. After 2 days, this bacteria reaches a sufficient number. In this quantity, it produces a large amount of tetanus toxin. This toxin has a specific target. This toxin targets the voluntary muscles. Any muscle it can target, but the most common target is voluntary muscles, and muscles bind with this toxin, and the muscles cannot contract or relax any further. They normally go in a state of contraction. Okay, suppose it is the facial muscles. The facial muscles will become contracted. Okay, normally it is in the lower jaw muscles. So the lower jaw muscles, they will be contracted. If they are contracted, they will remain in a state of contracted state. A person will have difficulty in swallowing food because he will have to exert a large amount of force even to move his lower jaw, to move his muscles, hands. And suppose this toxin gets into the respiratory system muscles, the external intercostal muscles and the internal intercostal muscles, these are present in the ribs. Okay, these are present between the ribs, and if between these muscles this toxin penetrates, then what will happen? A person will fail to perform respiration. He cannot breathe. He will die. Are you getting me? So spasms, contractions. Spasm means involuntary contractions. Yeah. Okay. Zyro school. I get wounded every week, but I never take this vaccine, and you said that it is deadly. Confusing. Yeah. You have a good immune system, but even for a good immune system, I will recommend you get a vaccine about every year. This vaccine is effective for about 1 year, nearly 1 year. If you take this vaccine and you get wounded about on a daily basis, I will recommend that please take this vaccine. Please do not take this lightly, because I knew someone who was he used to play in where my home is in Lucknow, in Uttar Pradesh, and near my home a small boy used to play in the field every day, and he used to get hurt a lot. But what happened to him was, suddenly they were rushing him one day to the hospital, and I was inquiring what happened to him, and they say that we do not know yet, and they took him to the hospital, and he died on the ambulance. He died along the way within 5-10 minutes. He fell on the field actually, and everybody called a hospital as quickly as they could, and he died due to tetanus, respiratory failure. So, okay, so please take good health care of your health. It's very fortunate that you discussed this with me. Please do not take your health lightly. I will request this. Please take this vaccine every year. Take this vaccine every year. Okay, suppose this is 1st February. You must take this vaccine on 1st February 2020. Okay, take the vaccine for this year, please. Okay, do not take it lightly. You have not suffered from tetanus because it is present everywhere. I should say this, but maybe it is not present in a high concentration or some reason. Like it is present in the soil. If you take a soil sample and test it, it normally contains tetanus, but you are not suffering. I will say that you are lucky, but please do not let your luck run out. Do not perform such a deadly thing. Do not take risks of such a deadly nature. You are confused, Zyro School, please students, whoever play in the field, football, like you must, you know Ronaldo, you know Ronaldinho, all the football players, they get vaccinated for such tetanus and few diseases every year. If you do not trust me, please Google it, you will find it, that all football players, people who play in the field anywhere in the world, they always try to get some vaccines. Okay, so you must be a football player, I presume. Okay, so we always get hurt. I always got hurt a lot. Like when I was a boy, I never paid so much attention. Normally, this vaccine works for many years, like up till 13 years. This vaccine is prescribed only 1 year on a 1 year basis or on a 2 year basis. You have some antibodies because you have had this vaccine somewhere in your childhood. You took a DPT vaccine at 6 years of age, and up till 13 years or up till 6 years, 10 years, this vaccine is prescribed. But with age, your immune system will become weak. So please do not take this risk anymore and immediately get vaccinated. Okay. I will also tell you this. Whenever a person gets bitten by a dog or a monkey or a fox or gets bitten by a lion, tiger, okay, nobody gets bitten by a lion, tiger, they get eaten alive. Okay, so I was watching this video, and there was a man on a mahout who rides on an elephant, and there were some foreign tourists, and he was challenging a tigress actually, in the fields. It was in the northeast. If you want to see the video link, I will send you the video link on YouTube. It is there. And this tigress charged on the elephant, and he was trying to ward off the elephant. He had no gun, and this tigress tore off a chunk of the man's hand. And later on, what the vaccines were given? They were given for rabies, they were given for tetanus. Whenever a dog bites, any wild animal bites us, we are given vaccines for tetanus and rabies both. Please try to remember this. If your dog has had a rabies vaccine, if anybody gets bitten from your dog, your pet dog even, he might not be needed to get vaccinated for rabies, but he will definitely need to be get vaccinated for tetanus. Okay? Alright. I hope this solves your doubt. Please do not take tetanus lightly. Horse dung contains tetanus bacteria. So, these bacteria are present virtually everywhere around us, are present everywhere around us, are present everywhere on the roads, so these bacteria can survive for many years. They form spores, can survive for many years. Okay. Therefore, please write this. Therefore, in event of a road accident, a person is always prescribed a tetanus vaccine. Okay. So please do not take your health lightly. Whenever you get a wound, always clean it, use Dettol, always take proper care. Okay. Always use a first aid kit. And if you use a first aid kit, the chances of anybody getting tetanus, even if they don't get a vaccine, will be reduced significantly. Cleaning of a wound is very important in event of Okay, so I hope this solves your value-based questions. Okay, you will know that this vaccine is given in a large amount of cases. Okay. Okay. So, all right. Now we have to do some things more. Okay, like prevention. So we use a tetanus vaccine. Treatment, it can be done by antibiotics, but the toxin spreads very fast. It's very difficult to control it, and it's very hard to get this out of the system. Okay. Okay. So tetanus vaccine, I will describe in detail what does it contain when I discuss the vaccination. I will discuss what it contains in detail, a small amount of detail that you need to know. Okay. So tetanus vaccine basically contains tetanus toxin, which has been treated with formaldehyde, a chemical, and this chemical it inactivates the toxoid. It reduces the potency, the effectiveness of the toxoid. So if anybody is given a tetanus toxoid vaccine, his hand will feel the effect of this vaccine because it contains a mild form of that poison, mild form of that toxin. Okay, you understand? Your hand will feel in a state of contracted state, of always in a fatigued state, because the effect of toxin is being felt here. A tetanus vaccine contains this toxoid. Why do we give a toxoid, a tetanus toxoid in this case? Because I told you the body has the property. Wait a second, Shillong students. This bacteria has the property of growing. This bacteria actually has the property of growing almost everywhere. Okay, but the thing is, this toxin that is being given in less concentration, it activates the immune system of our body. It activates the primary immune response. I told you, the first response, somebody slaps you for the first time, you might know it, not know it. Somebody plays a prank on you, you might not know it for the first time. But the second time the person is going to repeat the same trick. In that case, in that event, in that position, the body is fully prepared. It will prepare the antibodies and they will immediately start to kill the bacteria soon as it enters the body. Okay, so yeah, Shillong students, you have a query. Are these bacteria present in cow dung also? No, not at all. Cow dung has archaebacteria and some secretions, some chemicals which destroy tetanus bacteria. Cow dung is, let's say, it's antibacterial. Okay, besides archaebacteria, like among all the animals that exist on this earth, it has been found surprisingly, like cows and buffaloes, basically cows, they have these bacteria, and actually their study has been, a scientific paper has been published on effects of cow dung, and a lot of scientific papers are in the process. I will tell you what the basic thing is. Cow dung is basically having those bacteria which destroy the pathogenic bacteria of any nature and capacity. So these bacteria are not present in the cow dung. Cow dung has a slight antibacterial action. So cow dung mixed with horse dung will destroy the tetanus bacteria. So no, they do not have tetanus bacteria at all. Okay? All right. Tetanus vaccine or tetanus toxoid vaccine. It's also called tetanus toxoid. Okay. All right. So we have finished the DPT vaccine, what it is being given for. Now the time is 5:27. Okay. So I have still a bit of time left. I will do about cholera, some few diseases I can do. 3, 4, 5. I think this is the 7th one. Tetanus is very important. Please remember that. Okay. Now do cholera. Cholera. In Hindi, it was called as Haja. It was a very widespread epidemic in the 20th century and the 19th century. Cholera. Wherever a large population of people live, this bacteria can kill a large population in very less time. Very less time. This bacteria is very harmful. Okay. It's very fatal, has a very high mortality rate. It is caused by, cholera is caused by Vibrio cholerae. But the cause of the death is very specific, and now WHO has found a way, the doctors after 1950 found a way to almost save everyone who is suffering from this disease. So now we do not have mortalities anymore due to cholera bacterium. Okay, symptoms. These are diarrhea, dehydration, and vomiting. Diarrhea, dehydration, and vomiting. Diarrhea and dehydration, loss of water. Okay. Cholera is characterized by a rice water stool condition. Rice water stool condition. Prevention. We do not prescribe any vaccine for cholera. What we prescribe is proper hygiene and sanitation. We prescribe proper hygiene and sanitation. In the British India, the British built large colonies of laborers. They wanted people to work in the fields. They built in Calcutta, they built slums. In Mumbai, they built slums. And in these slums, large amount of people were stuffed in narrow homes with no ventilation, no proper sanitation facilities. In such a condition, cholera bacteria can show its full effect. There is another problem. Cholera is associated with diarrhea and dehydration. A person goes to the washroom every now and then, passes rice, water, stool condition, fecal material, loses a large amount of fluids, and along with these fluids, he suffers from sodium and potassium ion loss. Sodium potassium ion loss. So what is going to happen? If person is suffering from sodium, potassium and glucose loss from the body, energy is drained out rapidly, the cells cannot function properly, the electrolyte balance, the balance of positive and negative ions in the fluid, in the extracellular fluid will be lost. Okay? In this condition, this is the perfect condition for anybody to die. Okay? If we destroy the ionic balance of the cell, this means a person can die in a matter of minutes. So what can we do? The biggest weapon to combat cholera is called ORS. Treatment. Treatment is ORS. You have heard about ORS, oral rehydration solution. Oral rehydration solution. Whenever anybody of you suffers from diarrhea or dehydration, okay, you are prescribed ORS, or you go to the medical store and ask for electral powder, white colored powder, or ORS powder, a small sachet, hardly costs 10 rupees or 20 rupees. And this sachet contains sodium chloride, potassium chloride, glucose, citric acid. Citric acid, why? Because in Krebs cycle, citric acid is an intermediate of the citric acid cycle, Krebs cycle. So if we give someone citric acid, the citric acid or Nibu Pani, the lemonade, he will regenerate faster, better than glucose. Better than giving somebody glucose, it is better to give someone lemonade. Why? Because glucose has to undergo glycolysis, then it has to enter the Krebs cycle. Why shouldn't we give exactly citric acid? Citric acid is an intermediate in the Krebs cycle. So if we give citric acid, the Krebs cycle start right away from there. In a small amount of time, he can regenerate the ATP. Okay? So this happens. So we give oral rehydration solution. What does oral rehydration solution contain? It contains sodium chloride, potassium chloride, K+, Cl-, and citric acid and glucose. Citric acid and glucose. These things help in maintaining in restoring the original ion balance of the body and in bringing energy to the body. This is the biggest weapon against cholera. Treatment by ORS. ORS is the first and foremost thing. If you do not want to give this person any antibiotic at all, after some time he will be okay. But if you do not give ORS to this person, he will die. So ORS is most important, along with antibiotics. You can give them any kind of antibiotic. This is sufficient. But ORS is most important. ORS has been recommended by World Health Organization in all cases of dehydration and diarrhea. Okay? So, cholera can be treated easily. Nowadays, we give a small sachet of ORS and the person, he will immediately start feeling better. Okay? Cholera is done now. Okay. Now we do tetanus, cholera. Leprosy. We should do leprosy. 7, 8. Leprosy. Okay. Quite on the outside of religious places like temples and all, we must have seen people who have who are suffering from patches of pigmented skin, somewhere light pigment, and they have deformed hands and limbs. Okay, these people are suffering from leprosy. It is also called Hansen's disease, from a scientist who described the symptoms of leprosy for the first time. It is called Hansen's disease. Hansen's disease. Okay. Hansen's disease. What are the symptoms, what is the causative agent? Caused by Mycobacterium leprae. Mycobacterium leprae. Okay. Mycobacterium leprae is the causative agent. All right. So, what are the symptoms? This disease is actually not fatal. Nobody dies due to leprosy, and these people serve as carriers, transmitting agents. Okay. Patches on skin. Patches on skin. Ulcer and nodules formation. In India, there has been a great saint who worked to nearly eliminate single-handedly. This man single-handedly combated leprosy in a very successful manner in South India, in Central India, in North India, in almost whole of India. His centers are operating widely, and he did a major work in combating leprosy in almost all the closely, densely populated cities of the India. And this man's name is Baba Amte. He did not get a Nobel Prize, but his work has been more it's 100 times more significant than Mother Teresa, because he has a world record of treating about 1 million leprosy patients. 1 million leprosy patients have been treated successfully through charitable, without any pomp show. He did not want any popularity at all. He didn't even face the camera, but he in a very quiet manner, he combated leprosy single-handedly, and recently he died. So his name was being remembered, that he did not get any fame, he did not want any fame, but he worked in a silent manner. Some people exist like this. Patches on skin, ulcer and nodules formation in skin and nerves. A person, because of nodule formation, in the nerves, and we know if any thing attacks the nerves, the neurons cannot regenerate. So person loses the ability to sense things. Okay. Deformities, nodule formation of skin, nerves, loss of sensation of heat, cold, etc. Loss of sensation of heat, cold, etc. The only way to fight leprosy is to avoid direct contact with a person who is suffering from leprosy. Not a direct contact, but a person should be, if he has to be touched, one has to wear gloves and all, and wash his hands properly after he has come in contact. with Dettol and all everything, so that these bacteria destroyed. These are very difficult bacteria to destroy. Not a single antibiotic is useful to kill all the bacteria. So, government of India has devised an approach after consulting with doctors and biologists. It is called MDT, multi-drug therapy. A combination of various antibiotics is given in such a way that they destroy this bacteria once and for all. Okay. Treatment, prevention by hygiene and all that. You understand that. MDT, very important term. It has been asked in the very short answer questions in the board and in the NEET examination. It is called multi-drug therapy. The question that was asked was, MDT is used to treat which disease? Multi-drug therapy. They only mention the abbreviation. Multi-drug therapy is to treat which disease? It is for leprosy. Similarly, if anybody asks you what DOTS is, you will write it is for tuberculosis. Okay. Now we need to do another disease called plague. Alright students, you must have heard about Renaissance, the awakening in Europe in medieval times. In medieval times, Europe, the cities that we see today in Western civilization, they were not like anything that at all. Okay. In India, we compare that with the Indus civilization. The Indus civilization invented the lavatory flush system in the toilets and all. India was very clean, but compare that with Europe, the situation has changed now. Now we are like them, and they are like us in the previous centuries. Okay, so they are now advanced, and once upon a time we were advanced, and they were quite like uncivilized, dirty cities and congested cities. They were like what we are today. Okay, in some cities now India is improving because of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan and all that. But once upon a time it was not so. Not in India, not in Europe. So what happened was, in Europe, these cities were situated like slums, highly congested living spaces, no sanitation, no hygiene at all. Like some European painters have drawn some paintings, and from these paintings it is what has been described that human fecal material was openly present even on the pavilion of the king's palace and in the markets everywhere. Human fecal material, they have drawn some paintings. I do not want to describe all that. So in such dirty conditions, in such unhygienic condition, the population of rats, yes, in every European city grew to a maximum possible population. Okay, no hygiene, rats were present everywhere, and in such unhygienic conditions, a bacteria called Yersinia pestis, okay, its earlier name was Pasteurella pestis. This Yersinia pestis bacteria is found on rats. Okay, and wherever the rats used to go, this bacteria followed them, and so in a way, whole of Europe was suffering from plague. Okay, it was also called Black Death. Actually, what another factor which accelerated the spread of plague was that even after a person used to die, like in Christian customs, we bury a person. Okay, and in burying, there is a problem that bacteria, viruses, pathogens are not destroyed. Unfortunately, these pests are not, the bacteria, the pathogens are not destroyed. So these dead bodies were lying out in the covered spaces, and soon the death rate became so much that nobody was even available to dig a grave and bury the people. The population of cities was so much reduced, everybody was so much afraid that nobody wanted to go out. Everybody was feeling fatigue. They had been suffering from plague for such a long time. The people who were not dying, they were becoming very weak, unable to dig graves and all that. So nobody was even burying the people. Okay. So now the situation became even more worse. Now these dead bodies were lying openly in the streets. And now plague spread in such a fast manner that about 1/2 of all European population was wiped out. 1/2 of all European population was wiped out by plague. So this is why it was called as Black Death. Nobody knew why this was happening. But later, some Christian saints prescribed, that let us start burning these bodies. Let us start burning the bodies. And immediately, as soon as the dead bodies were burned, this disease became controlled. Okay, so they started burning the bodies. The disease became controlled. And later on, it became clear that rats were responsible for the spreading of this disease. So in a way, we can say that the churches, the people, the common people, the kings, everyone cooperated with each other, and they wanted to build a better Europe, and they created some spaces, open spaces, well ventilated spaces, so that the people can live freely, and by the observation of proper sanitation procedures, this disease was controlled in the later stage. About 100 years, this disease wiped out the population of Europe in such a vast manner. But later, the people learned what has to be done. So anybody who was affected from plague, or he was suspected to have been died because of plague, his body was buried. His body was not buried; it was burned. Okay. In a way, we can say that Hindu ceremonial practices of not burying the dead, but burning them, are more helpful because they do not pollute the groundwater. Because even after dying, if the coffin starts decomposing, the bacteria present in the body, they can come out. Okay, they can pollute the groundwater. It's a problem. So now we are designing coffins which are leak-proof. They will not leak the proof, but making such coffins is quite expensive. So in the future, if the human population rises too much, the only solution left will be to burn the body for everyone. Otherwise, there will be the spread of deadly diseases, and groundwater will not be left fit for drinking for anyone. So we should write some things about plague now. My time is also coming to an end. I have explained this disease. I will only write what's the causative agent. Okay, one more thing about plague I missed. The bacteria responsible for plague, it is not present directly on the rats. You know about a thing called fleas? You know what a rat flea? Fleas are present on dogs as well. Rat flea is different from dog fleas. Okay, some dogs in their ears, near the ear region, they scratch a lot. Okay, normally dog fleas might be the causative agent. Dogs scratch a lot because they wanted to get free from this dog flea. But rats suffer from rat flea. It's a small jumping insect. It's a small jumping insect. It moves by jumping from one place to other. It sits on the back of the rats. It binds to their skin. Okay, and inside these rat fleas, the Yersinia pestis bacteria is found. Okay, so box within box kind of theory. Yersinia pestis, Yersinia pestis, Yersinia pestis is the bacterium. Let me rub this up. Is the bacterium responsible for plague. My hand is slipping a bit. Is the bacterium responsible for spreading plague. Okay. Where is this bacteria found? It is found on fleas. Fleas are found on rats. Okay. This bacteria is found inside rat fleas. Rat fleas. The name of rat flea is Xenopsella Cheopsis. Xenopsella Cheopsis. Okay, Xenopsella Cheopsis. Rat fleas found on rat. Pest on rat. So rats have itching problems also. Rats suffering from rat flea have itching problems. Okay. All right. So symptoms. High fever, headache, high fever. The mortality rate is very high. Headache. Enlargement of axillary lymph nodes and unconsciousness. You can also write plague is also called Black Death and wiped out large population of Europe. Plague is also called Black Death of Europe. Yeah, Black Death only because there were many statues made about plague. They depicted him like Lucifer or a black man riding on a horse whose face is like a skull or a grim black reaper because it wiped out a large proportion of European population. Out a large proportion of Europe's population in medieval times. Okay, this is the last thing. We can write this and we can leave. Okay, if you have any doubts, you can ask me now. It's time to leave, right? You all must be tired, maybe. Okay. So plague in this manner wiped out a large population of Europe. Okay, it's also called Black Death. if you need me to scroll up or scroll down, please let me know, okay? All right. So you do have any doubts, students? Do you have any doubts regarding to this? Like plague is called Black Death, high fever, headache, and please remember, rat flea is found on rat, and this bacteria is found not on the rats, it is found on the rat flea. Okay. This rat flea bites the rats. It lives on their skin, on the external surface. Okay. So this is about plague. Please write this down, and this is the last thing we need to do today. And after you have done this, we can begin to prepare for the next day. Okay. So I'll see you next week. Okay. So please write this down. Okay. So you don't have any doubts. I hope you have written this. Okay. So, all right, dear students, if you have any doubts, ask me in the next class, okay? So, thank you. Thank you so much. Have a good day. All right. Good night, students. See you next week. Thank you.